Squid Game Season 2 has taken the world by storm, and it was amazing. Is what I would say if it was amazing. It was honestly pretty mid, but that doesn't make for a good YouTube intro, so let's just say it's peak cinema and it'll give you abs in 3 minutes. So today, my beautiful people, we're talking about the good, the bad, the interesting, the this makes no fucking sense. So I bring to you, there weren't even any squids. Again. And as always, we begin with a Season 2 recap. The season again follows Gi-hoon, who is the winner of Season 1 of Squid Games, who now is set to put an end to the games after witnessing the atrocities happening in Season 1. He is now teaming up with Janho, who is a police officer and whose brother is also the frontman to the games, and together they come up with a plan to infiltrate and dismantle. Unfortunately, the plan goes awry. Shucks. Gi-hoon manages to infiltrate, but is now on his lonesome, separated from Janho, so he has to play some silly games again. But what's not silly is that the frontman is player 001. This can only mean bad things. Gi-hoon has experienced the Squid Games before, and he knows how devastating they can be, so he tries to convince people to quit the games. Unfortunately, he's dealing with a group of degenerate gamblers, which is impossible to reason with, so it's like talking to a brick wall. He fails. He then acts as a hero and leads an assault in the games, which we'll talk about later, but is unsuccessful and many die, including one of his best friends. Womp womp. Recap over. Now we can talk about the characters, the implications, the game themselves, but first let's talk about the season overall. Calling this a second season is a disgrace to Spring. Spring has nothing to do with this. This is by all means, at the very most, Season 2 Part 1. As soon as I saw 7 episodes, I was like, oh my god, dude, they're gonna rush through this. And once I saw episode 1, I was like, oh my god, dude, they're not gonna finish. It was not a good feeling. We'll obviously talk about this in more detail, but I would not have as big an issue with this being a transitory season if I was told that that's what it's gonna be, setting up for Act 3. Regardless, the season had a lot of new and interesting and compelling characters, but very few had resolutions. A lot of the storylines went nowhere. A lot of their personalities were useless. Obviously, many died at Squid Games, but we didn't really get to care for or understand why they were there in the first place. Now, of course, the games were captivating and unique, but the pacing just felt off very often. I remember watching some episodes and thinking, damn, this is awesome. But are they gonna wrap this game up? We've been watching it for like 35 minutes, which is very strange because the point of Season 2 was clearly not the games. The point was trying to find who was running the games and the mental battle between player 1 and 456. A lot of wasted time, if you ask me. And now I'm realizing that I'm kind of sounding like I'm hating on Squid Game Season 2, but I'm not. It was actually very enjoyable. It's just as a story, it was unfulfilling. I think that it was intense, it was captivating. It did not have as much mystique as Season 1, and it just simply had no resolution. Good TV? Yes. Fulfilling? No. No, I wouldn't say so. It's tough to follow up something that breaks the internet as much as Squid Game Season 1 did, and Season 2 doesn't do a bad job. It's just slightly disappointing. But let's talk about the games itself. First of all, the splitting money and the voting was a great addition from Season 1 to Season 2. It really showed the dichotomy between characters, it showed how gamblers think, and I very much enjoyed this change. What the voting scenes did really well this season was make you hate the people that voted to continue the games because you could not understand how brainless they are. The six-legged race was harsh and gripping, one of my favorite games. I cannot believe that League of Legends was added because it is incredibly appropriate. As soon as you lose in League, you either die emotionally or physically, so great addition. Mingle was a great character showcase, probably the best game I've seen, and the gunfight was exciting. All that being said, everything was dragged. Every single one of these things, except for League of Legends, which you can't have enough, took so long. And I asked myself, okay, we have an hour of this episode. Why are we spending 40 minutes on this one thing? And that's how I felt overall about Season 2 and the setup for the games themselves. But now we can talk about the characters. There's a lot to cover here, of course, starting with Gi-hoon. Of course, I think he has a very understandable character arc in terms of how much he hates the Squid Games. But it's weird how quickly he became a badass from a sleazy, dirtbag, degenerate gambler. That's okay. You still root for him. But goddamn, was his plan dog shit. My guy, you know what the Squid Games are like. And your plan, last minute, doesn't matter, you have a shit ton of money, is I'm going to implant a tracking chip in my tooth. And then I'm gonna play the games. No! In fact, I would go so far as to say that Season 2 relied on his stupidity a lot. How was he unable to convince, the first time after red light, green light, people to quit the games? His entire argument was like, I've played these games before, trust me, we should quit them, guys. Trust me. And then obviously everyone was like, no dude, I want to keep playing the game. Why didn't you say, there were games that literally had a 50% of survival for each individual? Why didn't you say, if we quit the games now, we can actually join them later if you guys didn't want to do that? There were so many plows. Plot holes are a strong word. We're gonna go over his psyche in just a sec, but it's not plot holes as much as it is aggravatingly stupid. Now, he also didn't question player 001 once. Why? I mean, okay, there's no way they put in another guy who's in on the games when I'm playing again, right? He had the same last name. He was a badass who took down 3 people at once. He saved your ass on numerous occasions. And every time you were like, no, this guy's good. I don't even mind him believing him by the end, but he didn't even falter once. He was like, this guy right here is my boy. Now, he's an extreme hypocrite, motivated by revenge. He says that he's altruistic. He says he wants to end the games. That is not the case. I like this about his character. He's definitely driven by revenge, and that's why you can explain his stupidity. So on that note, with all that being said, yes, his actions are explainable. And I still liked watching Gi-hoon because I think that the actor does a stellar job bringing the character come to life. But goddamn, if it isn't aggravating. A lot of these issues would have been solved if he was a more complete character or we didn't have to suspend disbelief as much. But my one theory for the future season is that he will maybe become the future frontman. Next up, we've got the recruiter, who is a fan favorite character who doesn't even appear that much in the season, just like your father in your life. Now, the scene with Gi-hoon, them playing Russian roulette with one gun, was maybe the best scene in the entire season, and I think episode 1 may have been actually the best episode of the entire season, which is annoying, because you want the episodes to go up in quality. But I gotta say, the actor kills his role, and himself, in the series. Not himself in real life. But he is so believable as the recruiter. He is maybe my favorite character, and his interaction with Gi-hoon shows that Gi-hoon and himself are both super unhinged, going back to the previous slide. And then we got Janho, who is the police officer looking for his frontman brother. I bet he'll be super important this season, I say, as I turn on the TV. And then we see him as many times as you saw the sun in 2024. The boat captain being in on it was the most obvious thing ever. They could have made it a little less obvious, but it's okay. Not all of us are super geniuses. And finally, like Gi-hoon, he is lightweight stupid. I still like him though, but this is really all I can say about him, because his character arc, his story arc in this season, again went nowhere. It's just set up for Act 3. We could have gotten like a supplemental letter saying Janho is looking for the island, and boom, cut out 2 episodes. Then we've got his brother, the frontman. It is a cool twist to see him playing a 001, but it's unfortunate that we really get no resolution. We have no motivation other than perhaps a mental battle wanting to break Gi-hoon for his own twisted reasons. We just don't know his backstory like that. I'll elaborate on that in a sec, but man, his acting was so good, and by his acting I mean the frontman himself. He had me fooled. At times I really thought that he wasn't a bad guy, and that he was trying to help people survive the Squid Games. This was not the case by the end. He perhaps sees himself in Gi-hoon. Is this why he's waging this mental war? Is this why Gi-hoon will potentially be the frontman, or is he gonna break this cycle? Who knows? I'm excited for Act 3, but disappointed with Act 2. But the best thing he did this season was pick the same name as the previous 001, bruh. I understand wanting to play the I'm so smart and cool card, but what if Gi-hoon before coming to the island actually did not remove his brain and figure it out? What if you were actually fucked? No, there's no chance. His brother graduated from Cobra Kai Academy. Apparently, he is the best martial artist to ever live. Special Forces Black Ops. He was just a police officer, dude. And you might be saying, no, dude, if you work for the Squid Games, they'll give you the highest level training ever. No. Have you seen the Pink Men? They're dog shit. Overall, though, I actually do believe that the frontman carried the season. He was the most compelling character to follow, even though we didn't get that resolution. Next, we had Thanos, who is divisive amongst the community, but man, is he a well-done, hateable character. There were many this season, I gotta say, more than in season 1, but he is the main one. I do gotta say though, this guy would have gotten eaten alive in season 1. Yes, he was absolutely fun to follow, but he really wasn't as mentally or physically strong as the villains in season 1. He is, however, TSA's worst nightmare, because how the fuck did he manage to smuggle a metal cross full of drugs into the game? They found bro's tooth, but the drugs, they were like, no, keep the drugs. I understand it might be for entertainment value, but you would think that the Squid Games take security a little more seriously. On the topic of drugs though, High Thanos is peak. The scenes where he's acting like a shitter buffoon are so fun to watch, make you hate him more, but also the actor again knocks it out of the park. I think that the characters really were the thing that carried season 2, again, like I'm saying. Unlike, however, his Dumbo-ass friend, whom I hate. That does speak to his friend's actor as well, and his friend is Namu, who is worse than Thanos Easily. This dude is a psycho. If you saw him on the street, man, hide your wife, hide your kids. Get the fuck away from me. But Thanos and Namu were a dynamic duo. It was really fun to see them locking hands and mingle, killing random people, but man, can I not wait for him to die. He obviously frequents the Talk to a podcast, considering he did fall for a crypto scam. Little bit of an L. You might kind of deserve to be in the games, but hey, that's the social commentary I don't have time for right now. Next up, let's talk about the masked VIPs. Next up, let's talk about Sunun. What the fuck? Where were these guys? Were they really not important enough to see at all, to even mention? Gi-hoon once says, I think they're up there, and we don't even know if that's the case. How would he know? Yes, they were kind of shitters in the last season, but we still should have seen them from a narrative perspective, I feel like. Regardless, let's move on to Sunun. I think that this is a likable and compelling and a very badass character who is a bitch-slapping goat. Thank God the fortune-telling shaman lady got slapped, because I wanted to do that as soon as she appeared on screen. The way she was sitting on the top bunk looking at everybody as though they were below her, oh my god, they do such a good job of making you want to waltz into the games and kill her yourself. No, not really, because violence is never the answer. But these scenes were a little cringe, in particular the bitch slapping and the six-legged race, all of them saying, you can do it, but with the power of friendship, just remember when you were a little kid, and then they all managed to succeed with like 2 seconds of support. Is that really all it takes to win the Squid Games? I'll just bring my friends and family. We'll support each other. Well, yeah, you do it, you know, and you won't die. And we'll all survive for sure. Sunun better survive. And then we move on to another fan favorite character, the mom. She is a based lord. Yes, I cropped her son out of this picture. Would she like that? Absolutely no. But I make the rules here. She has a loser son. She also probably makes goated noodles and soup and has a son I would bully. And I gotta say, the bathroom scene convincing the guard to let her go into the bathroom was ideal. Was great. She was so believable. She was so kind and so sweet. You really want to root for her, maybe even more than you want to root for the protagonist. So she better not die. Or else I'm going to start the Squid Games myself. And I'm gonna include that guy. Then we've got Noel. Why the fuck was she included? She has literally no motivation or resolution. All we know is that she left her child in North Korea, and she's a badass. She spends the first half of the episode stalking a father who then dies. You might think this character is gonna be important. This character might help the protagonist later, but no, obviously it's still set up for Act 3. But we know nothing about her in this season. But this is a good transition to talk about the Pink Men, because I'm so glad that they're collecting organs for... Oh yeah, we don't even know that either. They sold so hard. How did you manage to get murked by level 2 debuffed farmers who have never shot a gun before, are clearly tired, are clearly losers? They lost like 20 people. The more I talk about it, the more I'm realizing a lot of the characters and a lot of the scenes and a lot of the motivations just feel very disconnected. Season 2 would have been a better transitory season had it come together more cohesively and not thrown us things that we just don't care about or know about. And then we've got everyone else. I think that it was fine that they were added for Season 3, but they fell short to me in terms of Season 2. Like, why would I care about another failing YouTuber? So in conclusion, what can we say about Squid Game Season 2? It was not quite the season I was expecting. I was expecting a fuller season. I think it was very good television with a mid-story. I feel like I'm repeating myself here. I very much enjoyed watching it. It's just that I was disappointed with what we got, especially when we were not told about anything, and it was still 7 episodes, and it didn't need to be for what it was. Now, the characters were compelling, especially the masked VIPs who died. The end. It must be that way. I'm telling you guys, if I don't see a masked VIP in Season 3, I'm going nuclear. I'm going scorched earth. The skateboarder is gonna be first, but you guys are next. The games were fun, the pacing was eh. Again, a lot of the things were dragged out, especially the gunfight at the last episode that took like 7 hours of my life condensed into 25 minutes somehow. But Season 2 completely hinges on the success of Season 3, in my opinion. If you enjoyed this video, please consider liking and subscribing, or I'm putting you in the Squid Games. Yep, that's happening. Let me know what you thought about Squid Games. Who was your favorite character? What do you think about the story? What do you think is going to happen about Season 3? Were my takes L's? I'd like to know all of this in the comments down below. And if you have any suggestions for future videos, please let me know those down below as well. Go check out the other videos on the channel. We've got a whole library of variety content. Something for everyone. That means you. And go check out the links in the description. Join anything that seems interesting. And until next time, I love you. Goodbye.